Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. This is George from Dawn Organics. I've got Ellen from Ruth Soap here. Hi Ellen, how you going?
Hello. It's going good.
I'm really excited to have you here. I've been following you since you started your YouTube channel, and I've just been infatuated with your products and your style of soap making. I find it like really relaxing to watch you as well. You've got like a calm, soothing voice and a really nice way of making soap and your videos. So I'm a big fan of yours. So I'm a little nervous to have this chat with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the idea of the Soap Makers Lounge, at the beginning I wanted to kind of keep it in Australia, but viewers have said, you should kind of reach out to like soap makers in Europe or in the States or in UK, because and a lot of my viewers are actually from outside of Australia, and they were saying that all this info helps us anyway, even though we're not in the same country, because a lot of them want to start like a soap business or start maybe selling soaps at markets. So the idea of the Soap Makers Lounge was to bring, soap makers together, like-minded soap makers, and to inspire each other and have a chat.
Oh, yeah. That's one of the things I love about the soaping community is I have found it very supportive. People help each other, and it just helps everybody. Yes. I find it a really supportive community.
Yes, exactly. And I find, and like I've mentioned this in my previous videos, like soap makers can come together and share ideas, and even new soap makers that are watching, and I find that people aren't really out there to copy you or to take something away from you. Everyone's got their own unique style in, when they formulate a soap recipe. And
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good.
So where exactly are you located in? I think it's Dixon, Tennessee, is it? Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I'm just a little bit west of Nashville, Tennessee, if anyone's familiar with American country music. It's kind of the heart of country music, I guess. Right, even though I'm not necessarily a country music fan, but yeah, we're very close to Nashville. I guess it would be considered a suburb of Nashville.
Okay, right, yeah, excellent. And how long? So obviously your name's Ellen from Ruth Soap. So how long have you been making soap?
Oh, golly. It started quite a while ago. I'd say around 2005, 2006.
Okay, right.
It's been a while, but I didn't really start a serious business until recently. It was more hobby or small markets, farmers markets, craft shows, things like that.
Yeah. Well, I think it definitely shows in your products that you've got the experience, because your soaps are absolutely stunning, and
thank you.
The designs, and I look up to you as a soap maker. Like I'm sort of in my beginning journey, like compared to kind of how long you've been making soap, and I speak for myself and other soap makers I talk to that we admire you as an individual and as a soap maker.
Oh, thank you. It's a learning process. I'm still learning. In fact, I have a video coming out in a couple of weeks where I have a complete fail. So I think you're always learning.
I think so too. I've had fails myself. I actually recorded.
Humble.
It does. And of course, the learning experience never stops. It really doesn't.
No.
And when did you actually start? When did you start selling your soaps? Like, what drove you into start selling?
Okay. So the very first time I made soap, it was actually, I homeschooled my children. I have 4 children. Wow, and it was a chemistry lesson. I thought we can take something greasy and something caustic and mix it together and make something that cleans you. And this fascinated me. And I'm like, let's do it. And the kids they thought it was kind of cool. They were not so impressed, but I was like, this is awesome. And so I really got turned on to it then, and kind of never stopped making soap. And of course, a lot of beginner soap makers realize you can't use soap as fast as you make it. So you start giving it to all of your friends.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how it's, I think that's a pretty common theme with soapers. It's a little addicting. You start making it and you can't stop. And now you have a ton of soap, and what do you do with it?
Well, I refer to that as the soap bug, and I call it an addiction / disease. Like once you
Yes,
start, that's it.
it is. It is. There might be a support group out there somewhere.
I find myself thinking about like soap. I'm sure it's the same for you because you've been doing it for so long that your day in and day out is just soap. Like
It is. Yeah. I have to sort of hold it in check. I have friends and they don't want to talk about soap and trace and fragrances. And I'm like, okay, I'm in my own little world.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. I totally relate to that. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
So
God.
it's nice to talk to you because you get it.
Yeah, oh, yeah, of course. I think any soap maker would get it.
Yeah.
They really would. They really would.
Yeah.
And like when your first batch or two, like how did you find it? Like of soap?
Oh
your first
my.
batch of soap? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my word. So I didn't know anything about anything. So okay, back in 2006, Brambleberry soap in the U.S. here was relatively new, and I think that's where I got my first fragrant oils. And Anne Marie was. This is a funny story. So I had ordered mason jars from her. I was making candles and soaps, and I actually had a broken mason jar, and I called to see if I could get a replacement. And I think I actually got her on the phone.
Oh, wow.
And her voice sounded familiar. I'm like, oh, wow. So she was a tiny company back then.
Yeah.
So I had my fragrant oils, and I didn't know anything about accelerating trace. And I actually had read something online about you could use crayons to color your soap. So I tried everything. I mean, if you could make a mistake, I made it. So there was nothing I didn't try, and there's nothing I didn't fumble at. Like mixing my first lye, I took it outside and had like a hazmat suit on. I was like, yeah. And so I did it all in the beginning.
When I did my first, and I know I've mentioned it a few times in my video, but I don't know. Like when I first did my lye, I was like this. Like, it was so far away.
Yeah. Well, like, then though, conversely though, after I made several batches, I got a little casual with it and splashed lye up on myself. So you kind of get that balance where you don't need to be so freaked out, but you do need to be respectful and cautious, so I've been to both spectrums. I've done it all.
Definitely. Like now I just don't fear it anymore. Like, of course I'm still careful with it, but it's so natural to me now. And I'm sure definitely for you, it would be second nature now. Yeah.
So I still have to remember to be respectful. It is a caustic material, and the safety gear is very important.
Yes, of course, definitely. Very good advice. Yeah. And what, like, when you started making soap, what kind of pushed you in the direction of I'm going to start selling my soap? Well,
so of course I had a lot of soap, and I got positive feedback from friends and family that I'm like forcing it out. Here, try this, and I got a lot of positive feedback. And I was also in a process in our life. My husband is a retired Marine fighter pilot, and he had gotten endocrine disease. So it downed him from flying, and I was researching herbs and different natural ways of kind of boosting his adrenal glands and his whole endocrine system. And so so that kind of played in also. It just all came together at the same time with the soap making. So I started wanting to have more natural products in our home. And so that sort of was the impetus. And then I had a ton of soap, and there was a local farmers market where we lived in Virginia at the time. My husband was at the Pentagon working, and so I went down there, and I got really good feedback from people, and I liked interacting with people, and that was sort of what started me thinking, wow, I could maybe do a business with this. That was sort of just the beginning seeds there.
Yeah, wow, interesting, very interesting. And did you find, and I know, like with most soap makers and myself included, when you first try your soaps, how because when I first kind of started using soaps many, many years ago, before I got into handmade soaps, they were really like, commercial soaps from the supermarket. They were really drying. And when I first used soap, and I'm sure when you first used your soap, did you immediately realize the skin benefits?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was just so nice. And my children, I had teenagers at the time, and they were struggling with teen acne and all that good stuff. And so I did research. I'm like, oh, activated charcoal. And it was just really neat to see how it sort of evolved and the different ingredients you can put in. And of course, here in the US, I don't know what the rules are in Australia, but you can't make any health claims. So if I put activated charcoal in a soap, I can't tell you what that soap will do, but I can tell you what the activated charcoal does. So it's a little bit of semantics, you have to be really careful with your wording. So it's just a soap. And if you get into any claims, then you get into it's now a pharmaceutical or a cosmetic, and that's a whole different ball of wax. So I have to be really careful with what I say.
I think it's the same here in Australia too. You can't make any extravagant claims like it's going to fix this issue or it's going to fix that issue.
Correct.
But you can kind of, like in my case, because I'm addicted to soap making and aromatherapy as well. Like I love essential oils, and I do kind of make, well, it's not really a medical claim. I say like lavender is known to relax, and certain essential oils. You can kind of say that, but you can't say like it's going to help with your anxiety or it's going to help with stress or like stuff like that.
Correct. Yeah. So I've tried a couple of times, like on YouTube, to say what the ingredients do. And then I'm putting them in the soap, and you can do the research. I feel like I'm in a safe zone there.
I think so. I think you're pretty safe, I don't think I've ever witnessed anything like that from you anyway, so it's fine.
You get comments, so that was a learning experience being on YouTube. I am very kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, and you have to get a thick skin because people will call you out, and it's it is what it is. So I've had to learn to get a thicker skin.
Well, I think 99.99% of people that watch you are very thankful and grateful for all that you do.
So sweet. My word. It's so sweet. I can't tell you how much encouragement I've gotten just from the comments and people. It's very, very encouraging for the most part. Yes.
Yes. I had my first negative comment a few months ago, and I was like so upset and depressed because I took it on board, and I think the comment was that I lack personality in my videos, and I was like so upset for like a week straight. And then I'm like, it's okay. Sometimes you're just going to come across people, just like in everyday life, you're going to come across people that say something that isn't very nice. But since we're on that topic, like because you're a soap maker and a YouTuber, like how was the YouTube process for you, like starting it up and how, like, it would have been.
Oh my. Well, I told you before we started recording, I am so technology challenged. So when I started to really, I really want to do this seriously and sort of formulated a game plan. I mean, I started from ground zero. I didn't even know what a hashtag was when I started my Instagram page. I mean, I knew nothing about nothing. And I still, to this day, all of my recording and editing is done on my iPad. I don't have a fancy camera. I am so technology challenged. So that is probably the weakest point of my business.
You know what? I wouldn't even say
such a learning curve.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that's a weak point at all because your videos are absolutely beautiful. And I think, it's the truth. And I think that people relate to the rawness. People relate to it.
Well, it is raw.
Well, but that's what people love, and that's what I connect with videos that I like that as well. And I think most of us connect with videos like that. So I wouldn't even look at that as a weak point whatsoever.
Well, thank you. That's encouraging.
Oh yeah, I mean, just keep doing what you're doing. I think everyone loves what you do, so I wouldn't. Yeah.
I have a lot of fun doing it. I feel it's kind of nice when I put my iPad up and I'm making soap. I feel like I'm not alone. So as I talk to the camera, I feel like people are there with me. So it's made what could be a very isolated experience. Yeah. It doesn't feel isolated anymore. I feel like I'm sharing it with people. Yeah. So it's more of a, I like that. I feel more social.
Yes.
Instead of just me in my soap studio all alone. You know?
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I can relate to that as well.
Yeah.
And what are some of the challenges you faced? And this will be a dual question because you do have a YouTube and a business as well. What were some of the challenges you faced when starting your channel and also when starting to sell your soap to the public?
Yeah, so finding a web host that I could manage at my technology level was hard to find. Finding everything that goes into it, I didn't realize all the details. It wasn't just about making the soap. That is such a small, the amount of time it takes to make a batch of soap is, maybe an hour and a half with the prep work. Yeah. The rest is all what size boxes to ship in, shipping labels, labels for your products. All of that is the main bulk, and I wasn't really prepared for all of that. I'm a one-person show. I do it all from the making to the wrapping to, so the devil's in the details, all those little details that go into the finished product in that box that somebody gets in their mail is still, it's a challenge. I've had a lot of people ask for international shipping, and the price is so outrageous. So I'm still trying to source a way to ship internationally that's not just outrageous, For me, that's a challenge.
Well, I have to put my hand up for that one. I did actually go to your website and I tried to buy a few of those earth soaps that you made.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. They were so beautiful. I just wanted to have it. But it said, I can understand because shipping internationally is really expensive. And it's the same for here as well. I think to send, just 4 bars and it might weigh, you probably don't. Are you familiar with the metric system?
Not very much.
No, okay. No. I don't even know. Okay, let's say 4 bars or so.
2 ounces.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just trying to think. What's half a kilo in ounces? I couldn't even tell you. It's about roughly what 4 or 5 bars of soap would cost to ship. The States might be $5 to $10, but to ship overseas from Australia to the States was like $35 to $40. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it's like more than the product itself.
Yeah.
So like, wow.
Yeah, it is. It is quite. I know the average consumer wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't really charge them that.
If anybody sees this that's asked, I'm still working on it. I haven't given up. So another challenge that I literally just figured out was how to put subtitles and then how to get different languages. I've had so many people ask me for different languages, and I'm so challenged. I literally just figured out how to do subtitles on my YouTube videos. And so, I mean, I'm an old dog learning new tricks. It's an uphill battle for me.
I don't even know how to do that.
You're an IT guy.
I know, I'm an IT background.
Now I feel validated. Thank you.
Oh, no worries. And so, where did you start selling your soaps? Obviously, because now you have a website. So, when you first started, did you start a website as well?
So, no, in Virginia, when I first started making, I sold at farmers markets, and then I did try to have a website, but I didn't do Instagram or YouTube, so I had no way to traffic, so it was really no hits on that. So it was mostly just farmers markets and things until we took some time out, and then we moved to Tennessee, and then I really got serious about it and got my website kind of going, and really buckled down.
Yeah. Well, and now. You've got a website, and I'm sure that's working great for you. And are you still at? I think I've seen you're still at farmers markets.
Well, actually, since COVID, I stopped, so a year and a half ago, I quit the farmers markets. They were wonderful. I absolutely loved it. I went to a big one down in Nashville called 12 South. It was very trendy, sort of hipster, and it was awesome. And then COVID happened. They all shut down. And I kind of reassessed. So here in Tennessee, we get, they say if you don't like the weather, wait a minute, it'll change. I've been at markets where it's downpoured and I've lost like all the labels on my products have gotten the humidity warped them. So it's really hard on the soap going from my studio, which is a very controlled environment, to the humid outdoor environment. And that was hard for me. As much as I love the interaction with the people, I didn't like transporting all my soaps. And then I had trouble with inventory. So I'm at the farmer's market selling on a Saturday and it's busy and people are online ordering and I'm selling out of things in different places. And so I decided to stop doing the farmer's markets, even though I loved them. I was like a love-hate relationship. I loved being there and I loved interacting with the people, but I didn't like transporting the product and the inventory tracking. It was hard. So I actually backed off. I don't do farmers markets anymore. It's just online.
Right. I see. And since we're talking about online, do you actually wholesale your products to like retail stores or health food stores?
Yeah, I don't. I had a couple of wholesale accounts, and again, I had to really reassess what I wanted to do with Ellen Ruth soap. And my goal isn't to make a ton of soap. I really like the artisan side. I like the different scents and the different designs, and that doesn't really lend itself to wholesale. Now, I do have a couple of bars that I keep like in stock, try to keep inventory because I have regular customers that just expect those bars to be there. But I really like the artistic side of it. So my goal is to really grow the YouTube channel and just continue to make small batches. Artistic batches is kind of where my heart is at. Although the pull, I get a lot of wholesale requests and things, but that's just, the volume isn't where my heart's at. It's more, I love the design and the creativity. So it was hard to kind of pull back from that. But I just had to stay true to what my vision was.
I totally get that's just the direction that you wanted to take, or you chose, post COVID, like, since we've kind of gone through COVID, and like you said, you reevaluated, and that's the path that you're on, which is great. Yeah. And if it's working for you, then that's excellent.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give like other soap makers, whether they starting a business or they're thinking about starting and selling to the public? Like what would your advice from Ellen Ruth soap, very established, very well known, what would your words of wisdom be to people that want to start?
Well, my best word of advice would be to have fun. And so make sure that you're enjoying the process. If you get to where it's not fun anymore, nobody wants that. Find a recipe that you love. Test it out on all your friends, guinea pigs. That would be and kind of find your own niche. It took me, so I've been soaping for 15 years. It took me I had 20 different recipes that I'd cycle around. It took me a long time to hone it down to my core recipe. So really find a recipe that you love and kind of make it your own. That would be my advice too. I've shared several recipes on YouTube. There's so many soapers out there that are so generous and share. So get those and tweak them a little bit and kind of make them your own and just really own your little niche. There's room for everybody. That's the thing I love about soaping. I mean, how many people are on this world and they all need soap? So it's not a flooded. Don't worry about that. It's not a flooded market. There's room for everybody. Just have fun.
Yeah, just like, and I've quoted her quite a few times as well, Katie Carson from Royalty Soap. She's pointed out that she can't make soap for the population, it's too large. And because she got asked directly, why are you mentioning other soap brands in your videos? What if they go to them and buy from them instead of you? And she's like, that's okay. I encourage you to try everyone's soaps. Like, she's just really got a great outlook, really great outlook.
I love her.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, she's precious.
Yeah, she is. She really is.
Yeah.
And yeah. Sorry,
I totally agree with that, though. I just think there's room for everybody, and everybody has their own twist on it. I've seen a couple of soapers that get all, oh, somebody's copying me, and I think about it. There's only so many colors out there, and there's only so many fragrances available.
Yeah.
We're going to cross paths every once in a while.
Yeah.
Don't get up in an uproar about it. It's all good.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And like sometimes you're going to make soaps. I think one soap that I made, I call it the Dawn Blend, which is a 4 essential oil blend, and it's
I like that.
yeah, I love it. It's a really popular one. It's lavender, cedarwood, patchouli, and ylang ylang.
Oh.
Yeah,
that sounds divine.
Yeah, it's a beautiful smell. And I remember I seen another. I can't remember now that I'm trying to think of it. Someone had a similar. I think instead of it being the patchouli, it was sandalwood. Mm-hmm. Right, so it was fairly similar, and I do a 3 color layer. And it was fairly similar looking as well. And I'm looking at it like, oh my gosh, that's like really close to what I'm making. But it's not close, like enough for it to say, oh, you copy, but close enough to kind of, but because I've been doing it for a few years now, sometimes you're going to come across other soaps either really similar and it's not copied each other. It's just like you said, there's only so much you can do.
It's, yeah. And I have found, like, I've tried to duplicate soaps that have been popular, and they never come out the same. So, just have fun with it.
Exactly. That's very true.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give people making their very first batch of soap?
Okay. Wow. Have a good recipe.
Yes.
Wear your gloves.
Yeah.
Just start out simple, and you don't need all the fancy equipment. When I started in my kitchen. And now I have everything is separate in my soap studio, my stick blender and my buckets. I use my kitchen stick blender and my kitchen bowls, and, it's okay. At the end of the day, you're making soap. So if you let it sit for a few days, wash it out, it's not going to kill your family, So people get really like, you can't use kitchen stuff in it's soap. It'll make it clean.
Yes.
So, start out small and, just small batches and test a few things. That would be my advice for a new beginner. There's so much information, though, even more than when I started now, that when I very first started, I had never seen a YouTube video on it. I got some books, and they were so detailed and intimidating. I almost never even started. The books were so just science-based and scare you about the lie. And I'm like, oh my, this is frightening. Yeah. It's not that scary. My father he's passed on, but he was a PhD in chemistry. He was head of the chemistry department at university. And I grew up around, science talk. And I read this book and I'm like, whoa, I shouldn't do that, So it's not as intimidating as some people will make it sound. Be respectful, but just get in there and play around with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I do I remember when I first started, it took me about 6 months to make my first batch because, again, as you stated, everyone was saying, oh, it's so dangerous, this, and they kind of made me a bit scared. So I played around with melt and pour first.
Yep.
So, and
that's
then
a great way to start.
Yeah, it is a great way. But I reached a point where I got kind of bored from it because there's only so much you can do, and it does sweat, and it doesn't behave like cold processed soap.
It's different.
Yeah, it is very different. And once I first, made, my first few batches of cold process, that's when the possibilities kind of became endless. And
exactly.
It's just great. Like, it's a great craft. It's a great art, as I like to call it. Yeah.
I know you did an interview with Keely from Soy and Shea, and her soap dough.
Yeah.
She's so creative. I'm just jaw drop. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
She's awesome.
She's fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed that chat with her as well.
It was a good one.
It was great. It was great. Since we're on the topic of talking about base recipes and finding your niche, what's your favorite recipe actually to work with?
Oh, golly. Well, my favorite recipe that I use, I don't share. I've been thinking about coming up with a PDF file and selling my recipe.
Okay.
Tiggy, I don't know if you follow Future Prim.
Yes, I do.
Love her. She sells her base recipe, and I'm like, that's a great idea. I get asked a lot for my recipe, and I've had a few people get angry that I don't share my recipe, but I'm like, it took me over 10 years to develop this.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about doing a PDF file and selling it if there's an interest for that. But I did a test soap video that people can check out where I share how I formulate recipes, and I shared 4 different recipes in that video to kind of give people a flavor for what I look for hardness versus cleansing versus, super fatting and moisturizing, oils and all of that. It's so personal, and even though a lot of recipes are similar, they're going to be similar because, again, there's only so many oils you can work with.
Yeah, that's right.
But you got to tweak it and stuff.
Yeah. And what would your favorite bar be to make that you sell like in your range? What would your most favorite ones like you just love to make?
Oh, golly. Okay, so I get asked a lot what my favorite soap is.
Yeah.
It's usually the one I just made. My all-time bestseller is my goat milk, oats, and honey. Categorically is just always been a consistent, and right under that is goat milk and lavender. We used to raise our own goats, dairy goats, on our farm here, and since my children moved out, my husband and I are like, this is a lot of work, so I have a neighboring girlfriend that milks her goats, so I actually don't use my own milk anymore. Starting this year, I get it from my girlfriend, but it's still farm fresh, organic, raw goat milk. So people really love the goat milk soaps. Here's a funny story that I find at when I was at the farmers markets. So people would come into my booth and what do you have that's all natural? I only like natural ingredients. And I'm like, okay, so I will guide them over to the unscented or the essential oil soaps. And they would look at those and their eyes would shift around. I would say over 80% of the time they walked away with the fruity, tootiest, fluffiest bar that I make with the fragrant oils. So what people think they want and what they actually buy are 2 different things sometimes.
Exactly. And I actually I've never used a fragrance oil. I've only used essential oils, but I use natural fragrance oils and extracts. Actually, I'm waiting for a shipment I order from the States. It's called Nature's Flavors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And man, their fragrances are absolutely beautiful. But even that, they're quite limited. Right. So I am kind of tempted to maybe purchase a few fragrance oils. Yeah.
I found some good ones. I'm kind of stringent. I always get the phalate-free fragrant oils. So within the range of fragrant oils, there are, better ones than others. And
Absolutely.
But I totally I have so many soaping friends that are essential oil only, and much respect. I think that's wonderful. I love the fragrances though. I love those pretty smelling fragrances.
Of course. I stopped using stuff like that only because I had really bad eczema. Since making my own stuff, it's gone away now. But I did use brands in the past that used fragrance oils and stuff, and they were okay. It's not that they were bad. So it takes me back to smelling, and it does smell really good. I'm like, I just want to make a watermelon soap or something. Or a strawberry soap or something like that.
So, okay, I have a question for you. Australia, are you allowed to make soap that looks like food?
Yeah, well, some, yeah.
Because I have some soaper friends in the UK, and it's not allowed to look like food. Like they can't make a donut-shaped soap or a piece of pie-shaped soap. It can't look like food. It can smell like food, but and I'm like, oh, that's really a bummer because I love my donut soaps and cupcakes and
Yeah, I love your donut soaps too. They're edible. Yeah.
I didn't know if that was exclusive to the UK or if you guys have that. In America, you can make it look like food, but I didn't know.
Well, let me just think. The only thing it kind of might look like something you can eat is the chocolate soaps I make with the frosted high tops.
Oh, nice.
I guess it kind of looks like a brownie. Yeah. But or a cake, but I don't. Yeah, it is. And I use in that it's 20% unrefined cocoa butter.
Oh, yum.
So it smells like chocolate. Yeah.
Love it.
And I don't think I've ever heard of that here. Maybe it's just a.
I did have one other thing to tell you about new soapers. Is that I would encourage you when you start to retail your soap, especially here in the U.S., to get insurance. So,
yes, absolutely.
I probably waited longer than I should, but it's not that expensive of a cost, and it's really worth it. So I would say to get insured as soon as you start retailing. When you're giving it only as gifts to friends and family, you don't have to worry about it. But as soon as you sell your first bar, I think it's good to have insurance.
Yeah. That's really good advice, because it's a small price to pay for peace of mind, just in case.
Exactly.
Just in case, yeah. And actually, since you mentioned before, difficulties with selling soap, I was actually chatting to someone on Instagram today before we started chatting, and she's from the UK, and she was saying that it's really difficult to sell soap there because per base recipe you have to pay £200, and it's limited to 8 different variations. So, and if you make any changes, you have to repay the £200. That's per recipe. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
And Max,
you really want to make it to do that.
Yeah.
Well, hats off to them.
yeah, definitely. And since you mentioned Tiggy from Future Primitive Soap.
Love her.
Yeah, I love her too. And she would have had to face those hurdles as well. Yeah, she would have had to face those hurdles.
She has YouTube videos on the business side of doing soap in the UK, very informative. And I was blown away with the hoops that they have to jump through over there. I mean, it's much respect to them. That's a lot. I'm glad we don't have to go through that stringent of a process here. Yeah. I don't know if I ever would have got started if I did.
Yeah, I know. And I think the biggest one is max 3% fragrance, because sometimes you have to go above that. Otherwise, there's no smell on the finished product. Yeah. I think it's max usage rate here for most of the fragrant oils I use is 5%. Yeah, same.
Some are a little more. But usually around 5%. Yeah. And even then you can get a fade after the cure. So it just depends on the fragrance.
Yes, yeah. But, I've discovered a trick with keeping the fragrance in.
How's that?
So you add 1% cedarwood atlas or cedarwood Virginian essential oil, and that helps anchor. It pulls it down.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That is good to know.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought you were going to say mix it with kale and clay. I've heard that before, mix it with kale and clay. Yeah. And I use kaolin in my soaps anyway, and I have not found that makes a difference. But the cedarwood, that's interesting. I'm going to give that a try.
Well, if you like, I actually made a aromatherapy video. It's about 45 minutes long. I go into real detail on how to anchor anything, even if it's a fragrance oil.
Check that out.
Yeah, you can mix fragrance oils and essential oils. Like I've been experimenting with natural fragrance oils and essential oils, and some of the natural fragrances do flash off. But since me anchoring it down with 1% cedarwood, it keeps it in.
That is interesting. That's really good to know. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
No worries. And
good.
The cedarwood, you won't smell it at 1%. So that's the beautiful thing about it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I love cedarwood anyway, but that's really good. I tend to like more earthy, musky, masculine scents or foodie. That tends to be my preference. That's my challenge is I have trouble making soaps that I don't necessarily like, but my customers want them, like florals and lavenders they're not my favorite, but I will make them. Yeah. I tend to like the more earthy scents.
Well, yeah, my two all-time two favorite essential oils or anything fragrancing is cedarwood and patchouli. I
love patchouli. Yeah.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah. Since we're on the topic of soap additives, what are your favorite additives to work with?
Oh wow! Well, I put kaolin clay and colloidal oats in almost all of my batches because I really love how that feels in the lather. I don't know, it's just sort of the thing that I do without even thinking now. I love goat milk. Of course, the colorants and the fragrances, if those are additives, I love those. So, it just depends. So for sand, my secret sand recipe is sage powder, and the herb sage makes a beautiful sand color, and it doesn't have so exfoliating soaps are hit or miss for people. Some people love scrubby soaps, some people really don't, and so I try to find like sage isn't an exfoliant whereas if you put pumice or black walnut hull, it's I like a scrubby soap, but a lot of my customers really don't. So I don't know. I like all kinds of additives. It's part of the whole fun of it. But I think the kaolin and the oats go in pretty much all my soaps. So I guess if I had to pin it down, those and goat milk would be my tops.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been really one of my suppliers I buy from. They've just started stocking Tussar silk fibers.
Yeah. Oh, and that goes. Love it.
Yeah, and I'd never heard of that until I kind of started watching your videos. So I'm tempted to try it. Like, what does it do? Like, how does it feel?
It literally just adds a silk to the soap. I don't know, like a sheen almost when you lather it. It gives it more of a gloss. I don't know how else to describe it. And when the bar of soap is wet, it has a glossier look to it. It's literally silky.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you just put it in there with the lye and let it heat up, it melts in there, no problem.
Okay, excellent. I might get just they have like a small pouch. I might just try it.
Give it a go.
Yeah, I'll just try it.
The only problem is it's not vegan. So if you're a vegan provider, I have never used corn silk, but I know some people have done corn silk, but I've never done that.
Okay, right. Well, most of my range is vegan, but I introduced a vegetarian range about 6 months ago.
Okay.
And it's been really popular. Like, I've been playing around with goat's milk and cow's milk and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'm really loving goat's milk. It's just really...
Makes a nice bar of soap.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Yeah. And I've been playing around with powdered, but now I'm starting to freeze fresh goat's milk.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm really eager to. I've got them frozen in the freezer. I haven't played around with it yet, but I can just imagine it would be fantastic. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And what's your favorite that you've ever made, like fragrance oil or essential oil blend, in any type of fragrance blend that you've kind of made and you just absolutely love?
I think my all-time favorite is chocolate lavender.
Ooh.
And it's from, do I get it? Oh my goodness, can I remember? It's either from Brambleberry or Wholesale Supplies Plus here in the U.S. And I am not a lavender fan, but something about that combination just hits it for me. And I make a goat milk with chocolate lavender bar, and it's my favorite, and it always sells out when I make it. I should probably keep it in stock regularly, but yeah, that's probably my all-time favorite.
Well, it sounds great. I've never actually thought of that combo, but now I'm intrigued.
It's so nice. It's really good.
Well, maybe I'll make those chocolate bars that I make. I might just leave it chocolate with the cocoa butter and add lavender to it. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. See if you like it.
See if I like it. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what's Well, you kind of answered that as well. Like your most popular bar was the honey oats and
goat milk, oats, and honey.
Goat milk, oats, and honey. Right.
Yeah.
And what would your second favorite, like most popular bar would be?
I think the goat milk lavender comes up under that, and then golly, the goat milk bars seem to be. Like I make aloe vera bars with aloe vera juice, and then goat milk bars. I don't know. It really depends seasonally too. Some things are more popular in the summer, and then other different ones are more popular in the winter.
Yeah.
But the goat milk, oats, and honey is like consistently.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah. Just I would just want to encourage other soapers to. Just enjoy the process. It is fun. Chemistry is fun. It's a science, it's chemistry, it's art, it's all of that combined. And it's beautiful. You make something that's useful and beautiful. I mean, really, can you get better than that? Just have fun. I just love it. It's so creative. And again, there's room for everybody. So I love the soaping community. It's supportive and make soap.
Yeah, it really is fantastic. It's fantastic. Yes, I remember now what I was going to ask earlier. I've actually never used aloe vera in soap before. So how does that? Because how does that feel? Like, what is that? What does it feel like?
Okay, so I've done aloe vera gel, which is when I get the leaf and you take the pulp out, and I treat that different than I do aloe vera juice, which I get in big gallon jugs. And I treat the aloe vera juice like water. I will mix it into the lye, and it's very soothing. Again, I can't make any health claims. You know what aloe vera does? And put it in my soap. So you make the connection. Like if I'm doing an activated charcoal soap with tea tree, I'll put aloe vera juice in there. And I'll let people figure out why they want to use that. But you know what I'm saying.
Yes,
I can't make any claims here. But it's wonderful. And the juice in the jugs, it's very easy to work with. I keep a jug in the refrigerator so it's chilled. I don't even freeze it ahead of time. Okay. And just mix it slowly with the lye. It mixes just like the water. And give it a try, though. If you haven't, give it a try. It's wonderful.
I just got myself some aloe vera, so I think I'll just try it because I've just never used aloe vera soap before. So I was just curious because I know like if you burn yourself or you cut yourself, aloe vera is really great. But I've just never used a soap with aloe vera in it. So
if you use the pulp or the gel, I like to use that like an additive, like a fruit additive, or like when I make an avocado soap. So it's extra. But when I use the juice, which is just watered down, gel, then it's more like water. So you just treat the two differently.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's good, though. Give it a try.
Yes, I definitely will. And I'll let you know how
you like
goes.
it.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah.
Right. So we're reaching the end of the video now. Thanks so much for having this chat and agreeing to come on.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. It was good to meet you via Skype.
Yes, of course it was, and I was really looking forward to this chat. And I know some of my viewers, I did mention that we might be doing a video, and they're really excited. So I'm sure they'll.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks so much. I feel very privileged that you decided to come on, and I'll continue to watch your videos and follow you. And now that we're connected, maybe we can say hello in the future. Or
back at you. I'll watch yours too. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks so much. And we'll chat soon, and you take care and be safe.
All right.
All right. Thank you.